inside the Windows Insider program. So I'm curious to know who here is an insider already? Great, and who is not sure what an insider is? Okay, great. So just so you know, an insider is the ability to get pre-release builds from Microsoft so you can have a look at what's coming super early on, and lots of pre-release information as we develop. And we have become a lot more open about what we're developing. So the purpose of this session is to give you a little bit of a look into the Windows Insider program, really a behind-the-scenes look at how we run the Windows Insider program. I am the technical side of what you saw today with Donna Sarkar, who is the head of our Insiders program, and she's busily hustling the humans. I am at the other side of that, busily hustling the technology. It's probably the best way to describe our roles. And the idea of this session is to give you an idea of what is behind the Windows Insider program, so that as you think about how you run your personal life, your work life, your role in your business as rolling out technology within your business, give you some idea of how it works, how we think about the data, and how we run the operations behind the Insiders program. So to kick off, really this is the story behind the big red button. So we do joke that there's a big red button that we push every time you see a flight that goes out. In actual fact, we have managed to do a lot more automation than just a physical push of a big red button. But when we started the program, the big red button probably wasn't that far from the truth. So we really are flighting the flighting system, and we are learning every single day how to make it better, how to make it faster, how to make it easier for us to operate as an engineering team, but also make sure that you get the information you need as our insiders. So really in the beginning, for those who have been insiders for some time, the first you would have heard about the Insiders program was around about the 30th of September 2014, when we announced that we were going to have an Insiders program and we were going to be far more open and be coding really in public. Basically, Windows development was going to become in the open. And then, of course, on the 1st of October 2014, we released the very first preview build so that our very early insiders could start co-creating with us and start seeing Windows development in the open. But I do find it's quite interesting to learn a little bit out of the backstory behind what happened before those 2 days. So I am very new in the Insiders program. I have been working in this area for nearly a year now. Prior to that, I was working in the enterprise part of Microsoft on phone and then on PC. And so I love hearing the stories from Bill and Gabe and some of the others about those early days of the Insiders program. And I was on the receiving end of it in another part of the organization as we were thinking how we would help and do our development in the open. So in February 2014, the team went and presented it to our executives to say, hey, we've got this really good idea. We want to make sure that we do our development in the open and we are able to get feedback from our insiders much earlier than we ever have before. And they presented a great business case, probably very similar to what you saw Donna outline today in the keynote, and then the humans started to hustle. Around about May, the first Insider program went from this kind of idea into a program that was greenlit May 2014, and the team started working, we started cranking, and then on the 21st of September 2014, we presented the final Insider program to Terry Myerson, who is our Executive VP. So when we originally designed the program, we thought it was a marvelous idea to have about 200,000 Windows Insiders, perhaps a maximum of 400,000 are sort of the numbers that we were thinking. And Terry's view was, hey, there's more than 200,000 ideas on this planet. There's also more than 400,000 ideas on this planet. And just that the limiting you're doing is just not good enough. You've got to open it to everyone. And so, of course, in those 9 days, there was mass panic. There were phone calls to Scott Guthrie to make sure that we could get more Azure capacity. We had to build our feedback pipelines to scale. It was apparently a very, very busy 9 days. And of course, on the 30th of September 2014, you saw the calm-looking announcement that we were out and we were off running with our Insiders program. So something that we, during this beginning phase that we really had was 3 key realizations. And these realizations have got stronger and stronger the more we build out our program, the more we talk to insiders such as yourselves, the more we talk to enterprise customers, the more we talk to people. And the first realization is that everyone is an expert. You are an expert in, you know what is really, really, really great in your systems. You know what completely sucks about your systems. You know, if you think about somebody like me, I'm an expert in all of the PCs that I have in my life, and the needs of one of my PCs is completely different from my PC at home, is completely different from my PC that my son has, it's completely different from my kitchen PC, it's completely different. My needs for those PCs are different even depending on my mood or the rush that I'm in that particular day. So I really am an expert on how I use my PCs, and everybody else, and I know what works extremely well for me, and I know what is hopeless for me, yet what's good for me isn't necessarily good for my mum, it's not necessarily good for you. The second realization we had is that people want to help create solutions. You all know exactly what is right for your PC, and many of you want to help create the solution that is right for your business, that will make Windows a really, really great platform for you to help drive your business and you to help drive your innovations. And people do want to help create solutions, and they want to help create solutions for others. If I think about the way I operate in my world, I know that if I hit a problem and I fix it, I'm always thinking about, gosh, this is going to help my family, this is going to help my friends, this is going to help other people on the planet achieve more every day. And so many people are really keen on ensuring they want to help with solutions for themselves and for others. And the third realization we really had is that people want to do this with others. We're social. We're very social beings as humans. And the first thing I came into this room and I saw people coming in, it's like, great, there's other people, engineering with me and looking at Windows with me every single day. And we are social, and we like trying to be part of a community and discussing ideas and developing ideas together. And these ideas are becoming stronger and stronger for us as we build out the program. And as you look at some of the things that you'll see coming in the Windows Insider program, and particularly in the technology, you'll see us becoming more social and thinking about these three realizations. So there's a little bit of who's who. Many of you will be aware of Gabe All and Bill Karagonis. These two people are the people who were really driving the initial architecture of the Windows Insider program. Bill is an Australian. We don't hold that against him at all. But he and Gabe were, really those key people driving those early days of Windows Insider program. They have now stepped up and across a little bit. I now work for Bill. Donna Sarkar now works for Bill as well. And we are now taking the reins from those two and driving the day-to-day Windows Insiders and the infrastructure behind the flighting and the feedback team. My team owns the actual flight operations, the operations that we flight every single day. I also own the feedback hub and some of the control tower work that enables us to flight every single day. And Donna is the head of our Insider program, and you heard of her today. So we do spend a lot of time getting guidance from both Gabe and Bill, who are still very deeply involved in the program. And you will start to see more and more from Donna and me as we go. So why Insiders? So we've had a very long history of beta programs, as you know, if you've been using Microsoft for a while. But really, just going up to our executives and saying, hey, we've got a long history of beta programs, we should really have Insiders as well, wasn't going to hustle those humans. It was a really lame reason to have an Insiders program. The real reason behind the Insiders program is thinking about the complexity behind the number of computers and systems out there. There's millions and millions of unique devices. There are millions of unique applications, and there's millions of unique configurations. And even in my own life, I have different configurations, whether I'm working from home, working at work, or I'm just being casual on my PC and doing something in my private life. And so really there's a huge complexity. And if you think about the complexity, the way I think about it probably exceeds the number of strands of wool on sheep's back in New Zealand. So, I mean, it's highly complex. And there's no way that we could test every single one of those complex configurations in our back-end systems and really catch everything that we needed to do. But fortunately, in the real world, like sheep, these things do tend to cluster, and we have huge test matrices and automation that will help us day in, day out get the operating system mostly right. But it's the edge cases and some of those real uniquenesses that the Insider program helps us with. So we can hear voices from across the world, and we can hear different, unique and diverse points of view as what is working in technology for you and what is not working. And really the other problem with our beta programs before is that was a huge latency. And so we would, show up with previous builds of Windows a couple of months before we were going to release and say, hey, look what we've done. And you'll go, oh yeah, right, great, but we don't have time to react, we don't have time to think about how it's going to fit into our organizations, and most certainly any feedback you give us is probably going to be addressed in the next release, which might be 2 or 3 years out. And so the beta programs were not working for us, and they most certainly were not working for our customers, and they were not working as businesses were trying to figure out how they would format their operating systems and their configurations. And it really meant that you couldn't innovate on your businesses either, because the operating systems were coming so late that you really couldn't adjust quickly enough, and you couldn't innovate as fast as we wanted you to innovate for your businesses. And so we really started to focus on Windows development in the open. And if you look through the previous developments in Windows 7, we had a huge long time where we were coding. We had a couple of public previews, and then boom, we RTM'd. In Windows 8, we had a very slightly shorter program. We had 3 public previews. We were very proud of ourselves. We had 3 public previews right at the end. Again, no time to adjust. So in Windows 8.1, it was a much shorter release, but again, we still had that 1 public preview. And imagine if we'd had a public preview in some of these systems well in advance, we might have figured out that removing the start button was not the right approach much earlier than we did, rather than waiting for us to have to release another release. So here in Windows 10, you can see the blue line. We still did code a little bit in the dark and behind closed doors as we were trying to spool up the system so that we could end up having a beta program in Windows development in the open. We had 15 public previews in that Windows 10 timeframe. And so we took a long time, 15 public previews for PC and 7 for mobile. And so we took a lot of really great feedback during that time. And as you can see, development in the dark has got shorter and shorter. This is the Windows Anniversary update, the one that's showing here. We had something like 29 public PC previews and 28 mobile previews. And right now we're working on the current Windows 10 that you are self-hosting now on the active branch, on the development branch. And we, so far, when I created these slides a week or so ago, we'd had 6 public previews. I think we've moved on a few by now, and we'd have 4 mobile. So we really are wanting to invite you in. We want to make sure that our development is truly in the open so we can adjust and we can create the windows for you that is the right Windows. So here really is the Windows Insider program today. It is the ability for you to provide us feedback. It's the ability for you to help shape Windows as we develop. We are looking at feedback all day, every day. We give you pre-release information. We give you access to pre-release builds. We also invite you to bug bashes. We give you new things to try. And so you really are part of our team, part of the community that is co-creating Windows together. So let me give you a little bit of a tour of what happens behind the scenes. That's kind of the marketing view of what's happening, the high-level view. But I think it's interesting to see what's happening behind the scenes. And as you think about what we're doing behind the scenes, think about how you would be using Rings, how you would be rolling out Windows or using Windows within your own environment with the pre-release builds, and even once you decide to start deploying. So the way we think about it is Windows as a service. And we're thinking about this as a cyclical thing where we create new builds and new delivery systems. We also sometimes flight the flighting system, and so we're constantly looking at how we can improve our flighting system as well. As soon as the builds go out, we send them out to our Windows Insiders. Our Windows Insiders download them, they get them, they look at them within their own unique configuration, and then they start giving us feedback. And we monitor that feedback like crazy, looking to see where the trends are, what's clustering, what is happening out there in the real world, and really focusing on real world data. So let's first of all look at the new builds and delivery system. So is anybody familiar with the ring theory here? The rings? Okay, a few of you are. So we have a number of different rings in our active branch. So the active branch, or the development branch, is the branch that our developers are coding all day, every single day, making the next big release of Windows. And so here what I'm showing you is what we get as engineers, as well as what you get as insiders. The blue rings are the rings that we get as an engineering team, and the orange rings are what the insiders get. So these rings actually, and the content, go to progressively bigger and bigger audiences. So the very middle ring, the canary ring, there's several hundred engineers on that. That is the very first ring that automatically gets populated into that branch, so that we can have a look at it and decide if we think it is a good enough, it's of good enough quality to go out to the broader engineering team. So I'm the canary ring on several of my devices. I absolutely love being on the canary ring. I seem to enjoy thinking that I can find the bugs before everybody else if there are issues. And I like the new shiny object, so I'm there looking at the canary on my phone and a couple of my PCs every day. Once we're good with the canary ring, it goes out to self-host. Self-host is the rest of our engineering organization. Everybody under Terry Myerson, our VP, gets a self-host ring, and self-host updates about 3 times a week. So canary is a daily build. I get a new build on my PC and phones every single day. Self-host goes out about 3 times a week, and then we populate to our Windows Insiders. So for anybody who is a Windows Insider in the Windows Insider Fast ring, you get builds about once a week, plus or minus, give or take. At the very, very beginning of a release, you might get them a little slower towards the end of the release. You would have noticed in the Windows Anniversary update that we were publishing those builds a couple of times a week, and so we were turning them over very fast because we were stabilizing and we wanted to get your feedback on the stabilization. Then after it's passed through the Windows Insider Fast ring, we will then put it out to our Microsoft ring. That's the rest of the Microsoft employees who want to be part of the development team, and once we are satisfied with the Microsoft ring, then it goes to the Windows Insider Slow ring, which happens on, round about once a month. And so as you look at these different rings, in many ways, as you think about your organization, it's a different risk profile. So in the canary, there is a good chance, I haven't done this for a very long time, but there's a good chance I might need to rebuild a PC or a phone if something goes wrong. Thankfully, that has not happened to me for a very long time. And then as I go to self-host, we're really focusing on making sure that the builds are stable so that our engineering team can mostly stay at work without too much of a headache. And then the Microsoft ring, we want the rest of Microsoft to be super stable. Now, Windows Insider Fast, again, we want you to be co-developing with us. We want to give you the bits as fast as humanly possible. And so there's a little more risk. And you may decide to have your devices on the Windows Insider Slow if it's a work machine that you are interested in keeping stable. I happen to have my home PC on the Windows Insider Slow because my husband got a little bit sick of me updating his home PC every day on Canary. So I got overruled on that particular machine. I had to move out. And then, of course, we have the release preview ring, which is a new ring we added about a few months ago, and that contains right now the latest publicly released build. So that is the Windows Anniversary update is sitting in that release, and what we're doing there is giving you releases of apps and new releases of drivers, and so we're running updates of apps and drivers through that particular ring, and that ring will populate with that ring always contains the very latest publicly released build, but that build is continuously being updated with the latest apps and drivers. So really, as you think about what ring you hop onto, a little bit is deciding what your risk profile is. And we also take lots of feedback from our insiders. So when we originally started in this ring theory, we actually had the Microsoft and the Windows Insider Fast ring flipped. And we ran through the Microsoft before we gave it to our insiders, and we got tons of feedback from insiders saying, hey, we want that stuff weekly, don't wait, give it to us. We're okay with having a little bit more risk associated with the builds. We just want to see what's coming every day, or as fast as possible, so we decided to do that. So how we decide to promote, we really have a ring promotion criteria, and we look to see if the code is ready to go to the next ring. And we really look at adoption, we look at feedback, we look at reliability, we look at responsiveness, we look at power use, scenario completion, and then compatibility. And once we are satisfied that the code is ready to move to the next ring, based on our ring promotion criteria for that ring, so you can imagine our ring promotion criteria for Whip Fast is get it out there as fast as possible for our insiders, and for Whip Slow is make sure that you don't do anything too crazy and keep the systems relatively stable. We then press the big red button and we promote to our insiders. And so I think it's interesting to see our weekly cadence. So on Fridays, we have our final code check-in. So people are often curious, how fresh, when I walked in earlier, somebody said, how fresh is the code that comes, or how recent is the code that comes into the Whip Fast and the Whip Fast ring? And so it's super fresh. So on Friday, our developers will do their final check-in. The builds will happen overnight. The builds are run right now by Gabe All, and it's an incredible amount of data that is moved between machines and around every single night. So there's exabytes of data which is moved around to create these builds. And the builds, it's an amazingly huge process, and this is just for mainline. We actually build about 300 branches every single night. So on mainline, it takes overnight to have the build ready. We want the build ready early Saturday morning, so that automatically propagates to the canary ring. So on a Saturday morning, my devices will automatically update, and we start getting the data back to see if we think the build is stable enough for our insiders. So on Monday, our flight operations team will get together and we will decide whether the builds are good enough to promote to our self-host rings, if it's good enough to go to the rest of the engineering team. So as soon as something is checked into mainline on Friday afternoon, by Monday we're all looking at it and testing it in mainline. If we decide we're going to push it to the self-host ring on flight operations on Tuesday, we'll do health checks, we will do scenario checks, we will look for trends, we'll look for issues, we look for issues in the feedback hub, and on Wednesday we will make the decision as to whether we're going to push that flight to our insiders. And if that flight is good enough, we will push it to the insiders. We do a flight ops post check-in on Thursday. If everything is going well, we rinse and repeat, and we start the whole week again. But we actually have a fleet of flights running in parallel. So not only do we have canaries coming out on Saturday, we also have them coming out 6 days a week. The only day they don't come out is on Sunday, unless there's something big going on, or we're heading towards the release to market. We're getting towards the end of release, but we have canaries running every single day other than Sunday. And then we have self-hosters coming about 3 times a week. So we're looking at that the code that gets checked in on Friday night. We're looking at that Saturday build. And if Saturday build's not good enough, we go to the Monday build, we go to the Tuesday build. So we've got a whole lot of possible targets to select and send to Canary, and then possibly send out to Whip Fast. So we want to make sure that we have enough builds coming out every single day, so that we do have a good chance of ensuring we get to Whip Fast at least once a week. And the amazing thing is that we do this for 300 branches. I have several of my machines on low-level branches, looking at what my code is, my team is testing and what my team is checking in, and they run through these ring cycles as well. So I am testing way down in the code layer, so that I can check that things, once they reach mainline, are going to be good enough to go out to our engineering teams and to our insiders. So it's a huge, complex, mind-boggling operation, but really it's around 5 to 6 days between when code gets checked in and when you get it as the insiders and start commenting. So here's a photo of our flight operations crew. The lady up here with the green shirt on, she is our flight commander, Amanda. And we've got Brandon there and Marsha, that's all part of our release operations team. If you've ever seen these photos before, you can tell they've upgraded us to a room with a window, which is very excited, and they've also upgraded us to a room with a Surface Hub. So I think we're totally in the money on this particular meeting that we have every single day. We huddle at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon and decide what's up and what's going to happen for that particular day. So once we do ship off to the Windows Insiders, we then wait to look for feedback. And so is everybody familiar with the Feedback Hub or had the opportunity to try the Feedback Hub? If you haven't tried it, it ships in Windows. It's now a store application, so we're constantly updating it and innovating on that Feedback Hub every month. And so the Feedback Hub is a place you can give new feedback. It's also the place that you can search and upvote for feedback and discover new capabilities. We have quests, that's where you might help engage if we have a bug bash. We've got a new bug bash coming on about the 8th of November where we will start pushing out ideas for focus on bug bash, which is both a joint collaboration between the insiders and our team as we get close to the end of a milestone. So as we think about our Feedback Hub, what we're aiming to do with the Feedback Hub is make sure that we have two-way communications, that you hear from our engineering team directly, that you have a place that you can get announcements about what's coming, what to expect in the new builds, etc. One of the main things that we're doing with the Feedback Hub is with so much feedback coming in, we get tens of thousands of pieces of feedback that we have to manipulate at the back end and try and concentrate, is that we're encouraging people to concentrate and update their feedback when they see something, because that helps us really give the optics on what has to be fixed and the urgency for the fix rate. And so it's a way that we need to, that we look at trying to concentrate the feedback so we know what's important and what's not important. You'll end up seeing changes to the Feedback Hub coming in the next few months as we make it more obvious to you what is being fixed and what feedback is being concentrated so that you can see really where we're trending with fixes, etc. So we did get a lot of feedback from our insiders to say that the Feedback Hub for a long time was too one-way, where you would give us a whole lot of information and you didn't really have any idea what was coming or what was going on. Starting in RS1, we've done a lot of work with two-way communication, so you can see actually if we've made changes, and you can see Microsoft responses showing what is going on with a particular feature or an issue that is being fixed or being addressed in the product. And there's also the ability to chat and to have commenting between insiders and Microsoft engineers within the Feedback Hub. Again, we need to get much better at concentrating the feedback and showing and bubbling up what family of feedback looks like as we start innovating on the Feedback Hub in the next release. We also have the Windows Feedback Hub hooked up into Dev Center, so if any of you have your applications, you can very easily hook into the Feedback Hub and get feedback through the Feedback Hub directly for your applications. We can do a whole lot of work that will allow you to look at device type, market, look at upvotes, look at trending. So rather than getting people trying to give you negative feedback with the star rating, they can actually give you feedback through the Feedback Hub and reserve the star rating for actually commenting on how they think about the app as opposed to giving you feedback because something's not working just the way they thought. So once we get through all this feedback, we then look at the feedback in our mission control systems. So this is really a behind the scenes look at what the flight operations look at all day, every day when we go to promote builds. So really the mission control is the operational hub to drive Windows as a service, to drive this whole flighting, to decide how we're going to promote builds, to decide if builds are good enough to send out to our insiders and also out to our internal teams. It really enables us to have some timely decisions. It makes the build promotion a whole lot quicker, and it is a centralized dashboard that anybody in the team can go and look at to see where we're at with flighting our systems and where releases are in terms of the rings they're in. So in this particular picture here, you can see that we've got, there's a fairly old builds in there, but we've got devices in the Canary, Selfhost, Microsoft inside a fast and inside a slow ring, and you can see the different times in the rings. We're always looking at how long the builds have been in the rings as we're deciding when we're going to push out to our insiders. So mission control is really a place where we can take action. And so through mission control, we can see what build is available in each ring. We can then see what builds we can promote to the next ring. And then we can also see if there's any known issues promoting builds into the next ring. So if you see at the very bottom here, we have a couple of bugs that we're concerned about, hot bugs in the WIP slow ring that we're keeping an eye on before we decide to promote out to WIP slow. But it's really a one-stop shop where we're looking at where things are within the system. One of the things that we are looking at within this mission control is how do we decide whether we're going to promote builds. So we look at deployment, we look at reliability, we look at app compat, we look at feedback, we look at scenario health, and we have experts who are in the flight operations room helping us understand our data, helping us understand the feedback that we're getting through social media, through the feedback hub, through all the various avenues we're looking for feedback. So one of the things we do, have every team do, is that we also very data-driven and telemetry-driven in terms of with our pre-release builds. So every single team writes the measures they want to look at, and we're always looking day in, day out to ensure that these particular graphs which are defined by each team are green. And so every day we're happy to see when all the measures are looking green and we don't need to worry about anything. So in this case here, we can see that the settings app has 100% passing the measure that they have described. But if you look at the second measure, we can see that while it's still green and it's still passing the measures that the team defined, it seems to be trending down. And so that is a flag that we might want to go and dig in to see what's happening. Is there something that's changed in the code? Is there something that somebody's checked in that might start to push that measure down and trend in slightly differently to the other measures of the past weeks? We're using our dashboards and telemetry and information to decide if we're good and if there's something that we need to think about investigating. We're also looking at confidence metrics, so we look to see the little toasts that pop up to say, how do you like Windows 10, or please rate this build. We're looking to see how many of those that have come through, and we're looking at the responses to ensure that we have confidence that the data we're getting back is matching some of the measures. So we've got lots of checks and balances to make sure that all the data correlates well enough for us to get some confidence around pushing our builds out. We're also looking at feedback in the feedback hub to see what's trending and are the issues something that we think are going to prevent us from pushing out to WIP fast, or if there's something that's going to prevent us pushing out to WIP slow. And so once we are ready to promote the builds, we got rid of that big red button, and we do decide we're going to promote a build, and we can now time when the build is going to be released exactly. For those who are early insiders, you would have noticed that the builds would come out to the WIP fast and the WIP slow rings at an approximate time. Now we can fairly easily, through our technology, push them out in an exact time frame, or we can choose the time frame so that we can make sure that blogs go out in a timely fashion and that we're there to monitor the issues. And once the build does go out, we spend a lot of time looking at adoption and curves and making sure that the updates are being adopted at the rate we expect them to be adopted. And the adoption rates do give us some fairly clear ideas as to if something is going wrong or not. So in this case here, you can see there's a couple of builds that have been in the ring, and the latest build there, which doesn't look like it's got much adoption, had only been in the ring when I took this shot a few hours. And so it was climbing in the way that we expected it to climb. But when we we really use the adoption curves to figure out if there are any upgrade blockers or if there are any update blockers that might prevent the code going out in the way we would expect, and that's something that we would flag. So this picture here shows the world, and I managed to change it to have New Zealand in the proper place. So I'm very proud about New Zealand being in the proper place. Well, New Zealand was off on the side somewhere. I'm like, no, New Zealand's in the middle of the universe. So we got this, the map to be proper, like the one I grew up with. So we do have country insiders all over the world. So the blue dots are insiders. We also have insiders in Antarctica, believe it or not. The yellow dots up here are the Canary Ring. So these are people who are the few hundred people who are wanting to be on that Canary Ring. They are the yellow dots. So in this case, we've released a build into Canary, and those people have taken it up. No, there's not, although there might be this week because I'm a Canary and I'll be updating in New Zealand. So this particular build, there were no Canaries in New Zealand. I need to wind up the local team here and get one of them on the Canary build so I get a yellow dot on New Zealand before the Australians get a yellow dot in Australia. So then when we move out and we push out to self-host, you can start seeing self-host. That's that second ring where we expand it to more people, but that is expanding to our whole engineering team. And so you can see that the self-host is lighting up around the world. And then when we push to the Windows Insider Fast, you see that, that diagram explode. And what happens is that as soon as we push out to Windows Fast, the WIP Fast ring, the uptake will be incredibly fast, and then you'll start seeing it taper off as we get further out in the week. So this is what it looks like when we light up for WIP Fast. And so when it first lights up, you see huge activity, and then you'll see it die down a little bit, and then when we release WIP Fast again, it goes up. So you can see them lighting up all over the world. I just need to get the team here in New Zealand to be on the self-host ring and the Canary ring, so I get a little yellow dot before Australia. But that gives you an idea of how, you know, as we're watching the uptake, what happens as soon as we open the gates to the insiders, how quickly the uptake happens, and then we start getting feedback very quickly. So, you know, thanks to the Windows Insider program and a lot of the feedback that we get from people such as yourselves, we do have the most compatible Windows release ever. We've got 400 million devices running Windows 10 right now. We know of getting data from 52 million of those devices in business. And so as you think about the Windows Insider program, really think about how do you use the Windows Insider program both within your own lives but also in your enterprises and how you and your businesses and how you think about moving the pre-release builds through your organization and then as you get ready to deploy Windows 10 or upgrade. So once you decide that you're ready to deploy Windows 10 at scale or you'd like to dig more into it, we have a couple of services that are available to you. The first one is the Windows Upgrade Analytics. So one of the biggest problems we hear from IT is that their people have hundreds, if not thousands, of applications that they use every day or they have installed on their machines. The Windows Upgrade Analytics will really give you the ability to quickly identify all the applications running in your organizations and then drill down to look at what applications are actually being used. If I think about myself, I have a ton of applications on my PCs. There's probably a handful of them that I'm actually using and many that I'm actually not using at all, but I thought they sounded like a good idea at the time. You can zoom in and see who's using what. You can zoom in and look to see what your CEO is using to make sure that you are upgrading them properly. But the way the Windows Upgrade Analytics works is you deploy a small agent onto your PCs, and then we help collect data and visualize it in the analytics service so that you can then decide are you ready to upgrade and what applications you need to look at a little bit more to ensure that there's high compatibility for your organizations. Once you've decided that you've got application compatibility and you're ready to upgrade, if you have questions, by the way, on Windows Upgrade Analytics, we've got an email address here and there's a way to sign up, but we're happy to help you look at the Windows Upgrade Analytic anytime, and we can talk about it in the booth over in the hub area or possibly over that glass of wine we were promised. Once you are happy with the upgrade, you also want to make sure that the applications that you're using are supported. And so we have a Ready for Windows portal where if you are creating applications, you can declare yourself ready for Windows. And we are also collecting telemetry and data to make sure that we can see what applications are being used. So for example, if you look at the Ready for Windows portal at something like Adobe, you can see that that's highly adopted and that will give you some confidence that you can deploy Windows 10 with these applications. So have a look around Ready for Windows. If you do have your own application, I encourage you to put it up on Ready for Windows, because that will help people know that your application is supported and ready for the Windows. So that's a brief kind of look at the Insider program. You will see lots on social media from Donna. She is really looking at how we can use the Windows Insider program with a Windows Insider for Good. She's doing a lot of these create-a-thons, etc. But if you want to help shape Windows and you want to help shape it for hundreds of millions of people, join our community, give us feedback, and really get early access to Windows 10, which will help you deploy devices efficiently around your organization. And so with that said, thank you from the team. This is our team who looks at the Feedback Hub, builds a Feedback Hub. It's part of our Community Champ organization. I'm Catherine Holsworth, and I'm glad that you're part of our Insider community. If you haven't joined up, please do. And if you have any questions, Donna and I and Jeremiah, who is our Director of Marketing, is running around at Ignite this week too, looking forward to talking to our community. And so with that said, please evaluate the session, and I think I have a little bit of time for questions. And Jeremiah is here to help answer questions as well. Go for it.
Last week with the phone bill that didn't get past 0%, was that quickly obvious in the graphs?
Yes, it was. So we were, so for those who don't know, we had a little hiccup with a phone flight. Well, we were actually flighting the flighting system, and we very, very quickly worked out that there was an issue and pulled it back. The interesting part of that is that the funny backstory is that we really wanted to make sure that you wanted to run out the new flighting system in a nice way for our Insiders. We wanted it to be smooth, and so we held back one release just to make sure everything went well, and we broke ourselves. So, you know, it's one of the problems with flighting the flighting system and being this open. A few things happen, but we welcome the feedback, and we want you to all be part of our community. So as soon as we hear something or see something, there's mass work that goes on to put it right quickly. Yeah, that was an exciting week. Yeah. Is there a list? I think there are a list of phone models. Jeremiah, the question is there a list of phone models included in the Insiders? I actually don't know where to see that list, but... Yeah, it's on the list of supported phones on the Insider. Yeah, Insider, yeah, windowsinsider.com. Yeah, so you can find a lot of information on windows.insider.com, and yeah. Any other questions? Otherwise, we will be out and about. The which what? The Winsider? No, I hadn't. Is that a New Zealand joke that I'm not getting?
No, it's
Oh yeah.
Any plans to commercialise the feedback tool, so like build it into Visual Studio 10 services so you can use it for enterprise apps? That capability?
We are using it for any store apps now. Yeah. Beyond the store, so I actually own the Feedback Hub, not at this stage, and it's not that we haven't thought about it. It's just that there's no immediate plans. Yeah. Yeah, certainly. One thing that would help our development is put it into the suggestion and the Feedback Hub and get other people to upvote it, because then we can work out whether it's one person who is really keen on that or if there's multiple people. So certainly upvoting helps us concentrate the feedback and understand what's critical for our community. Yeah?
Is there a magical number when you guys take something seriously? You don't say that number, but is there?
Oh yeah, there is a number that we're looking at. Like if it's just one thing here and there, within
500% same thing.
Yes, we do. We have community champs across our organisation, and so it depends what the feature is. So each individual, so you'll see a lot in the, if anybody uses Groove, you'll see Ellen Kay as one of the engineers who talks back a lot, and then there's Stephanie Monk who talks back a lot on the, in the shell and the UX area. So it depends it actually depends on the area. So for example, the feedback hub, you know, we're almost looking at every single issue, because any commentary on the feedback hub is something that I own the feedback hub, and we want to make sure that it's always up and running so that people can give feedback. And so for us, it's important to look. If you have a look at some areas, the scale of feedback is enormous, so you wait until you get more concentration of issues before you look. So it's team by team that we do, but we've got massive, lots of people looking at that every day.
How do you cope with the vitriol that shows up in some of the feedback items?
We do have some. Have some filters to take away profanity and plain mean things. So we're looking at that to make sure that it's, you know, we want people to be nice, kind, and it's not a place to be not nice. And so we are looking at that every day, and we take it seriously, because we want to be a community that's positive and a community that's helping each other rather than a community that's tearing each other down. So we are looking at that all the time. And we have algorithms at the back end looking for things as well.
Is there going to be a combining of the Xbox premium program with Windows Insider at all?
There's no stated plans right now, but obviously the Xbox team are in the next building, so we talk a lot to all the teams in Microsoft. Yep. Any other questions? And if you aren't an insider already and you're curious on how to get insider builds, you sign up on the insider and then go into settings, set yourself up for the insider ring that you feel comfortable with, and get flighting, and we look forward to getting your feedback. We also take a lot of feedback on retail as well, so the feedback hub is on all versions of Windows from Windows 10, so please give us your feedback, upvote, and you know that our team is busily looking and trying to understand that feedback on a daily basis. So with that, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the conference.